All right. So we've all heard of Bigfoot, obviously. Giant, hairy, ape-like creature expected to be found in the Pacific Northwest typically. But what if I told you there is a southwestern, maybe cousin to Bigfoot in our own backyard?
Interesting.
Intriguing.
I'm trying to picture how we get to southwestern Bigfoot, and literally my first thought was Bigfoot, but like dressed in the hat and the poncho from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Like, that was... which is not, like, I'm not explaining that as like this is what you should picture. I'm just letting you in on what my brain does when people say words.
Yes,
so,
Yep.
So Joe, if it looks nothing like that, then I don't want to know, frankly.
You know, it maybe doesn't, maybe does. We'll see.
I'm just picturing something very angry, because if it's that hairy and it lives in this state, like, I just don't want to come. I don't want to come across it, because that's going to be one angry thing.
We will get to it.
Yeah, because like that's a good point, because like every summer rolls around every year and I'm like, I could shave my head. Like, I feel like I could rock that look. Like, I hate this.
And imagine that everywhere.
Just all over.
Everywhere. Yes. So I'm Joe, your tour guide for this episode, and this is Murderous, Mysterious, and Macabre. And tonight I'm going to be telling my co-hosts, Amber and Amy, all about the Mogollon Monster here in the state of Arizona.
Ooh.
Reminder that you can find content warnings for this episode in the description below. All right, so living in Arizona. I do have this question for you because I have met plenty of people who have lived in Arizona for years that don't know what the Mogollon Rim is. So, do you know what and or where the Mogollon Rim is?
I do. Okay, so spoiler, you asked me like a few years ago. No clue. But my husband, his favorite campsite of all time that he's gone to for years is out in Payson, very close to the Mogollon Rim. So we've actually stopped there once. And I would have never known except for like a sign on like a spot we stopped like because we were really hungry. So we like pulled over and had some sandwiches.
Good.
Yeah,
gracious.
I think all I know is it's associated with the Grand Canyon, correct? It's one of the rims on the Grand Canyon? No? Yes?
No, actually.
Oh.
So I am dropping a link in the Discord to a map image that gives the state of Arizona and shows you in a red line the Mogollon Rim in terms of what's considered like the edge of the rim, essentially.
Oh.
And it runs up towards the Grand Canyon, but it doesn't quite make it there.
Oh my God. We visited Sedona, and I didn't know that was on the Mogollon Rim. We drove up from Payson. That's so funny.
So,
would have known.
For those of you listening in, the Mogollon Rim is a topographical and geological feature cutting across the northern half of the state of Arizona and extends roughly 200-ish miles starting in northern Yavapai County around Sedona, and runs eastward, ending near the border with New Mexico. So not quite to the Grand Canyon, but kind of semi-close to that area. There's, again, reason why I'm covering it, a lot of people who have lived here for years, some of them my own family, that thought it was part of the Grand Canyon forever.
Yeah.
So just want to clarify that it's not quite the Grand Canyon, though there have been some Mogollon Monster sites around the Grand Canyon area. So tons of fun there. So there are two theories on the name Mogollon, and it's one that Mogollon refers to Juan Ignacio Flores Mogollon, who was a Spanish colonial governor of New Mexico, not Arizona, but, you know, southwest to southwest, I guess. At least in that time frame, people thought of it that way. So, he served in New Mexico from 1712 to 1715. The other theory is that it could be the Spanish word for mistletoe. However, I'm going to call bullshit on that theory, because the Spanish word for mistletoe is muertago. Not very close to Mogollon, so I don't know why that's one of the theories. I did see it in multiple places, even on, like, I think Wiki it was on when searching about the Mogollon Rim and its name and everything. It was like that. I don't know. I don't know who came up with that. I don't know why it's gotten popular, but dumb. We're gonna go with it's named after the stupid Spanish colonial governor of New Mexico. Again, also kind of dumb because this is Arizona, but whatever. I didn't name it. And for anyone who's sitting there confused about the name being a Spanish governor, Mogollon is also the name given to an archaeological native peoples that lived in the area. We don't know what their actual name was. We do believe that they are the ancestors of the Zuni, Hopi, and Tarahumara tribes. And they are archaeologically recognized by a special type of black and white pottery. So, for those of you who are like, but what about the Mogollon natives that lived in the area? Well, they weren't actually the Mogollon necessarily. That's just the name they were given as something to call them as an archaeological peoples. Again, sucks that they were named after colonizers, but I have no control over that, unfortunately. So, what are you gonna do? And the Mogollon Rim, as Amber alluded to, because her husband does like to go camping up in that area, is covered by extensive ponderosa pine forests and has fauna similar to that of the Rocky Mountains, which is a famed area, again, for Bigfoot sightings. So this includes like elk, deer, bears, boars, mountain lions, very similar to the Pacific Northwest, quote-unquote cousin, maybe, Bigfoot. So, I have another image for you. This is just a quick rendition of what people think the Mogollon Monster looks like based on some of the accounts. So just sort of this, like, again, very similar to what you would think of Bigfoot, big, hairy, ape-like creature, but in a desert background. So...
I love that. I love that it 100% looks like somebody took a drawing of Bigfoot and, like, photoshopped him in front of a cactus.
Just a saguaro somewhere, yeah.
I feel less ridiculous now for saying, like, oh, it's Bigfoot with a poncho. Because, like, I put in the same level of effort as this guy.
Yes. I love it.
All right, so continuing from that second picture, the Mogollon Monster, also known as the Arizona Bigfoot, less commonly referred to as that, but, you know, that's some other name for it. Big ape-like creature, similar to the actual Bigfoot monster descriptions. Reported to dwell in central and eastern Arizona along the Mogollon Rim, but there have been sightings across the entirety of the state. The Mogollon Monster is commonly described as large bipedal creature, over 7 feet tall, large red eyes, fucking creepy as shit. And its body is said to be covered with long black or reddish-brown hair, with the exclusion of the chest, face, and hands, and feet. Kind of, I guess, like a chimpanzee or a bonobo, maybe gorilla-ish. Very weird. So not completely covering its body, but still a very hairy creature. You wouldn't expect to see something like that in a fucking desert, especially in such a large size, but here we are. And there's also reports that claim it has a strong and pungent odor, and I quote, described as that of dead fish, a skunk with bad body odor, decaying peat moss, and the musk of a snapping turtle. How you know what the musk of a snapping turtle is? I don't fucking know who gave that iteration, but like that's what people think it smells like, apparently. Super gross.
All of those, like, grosser, grossest, and then the musk of a snapping turtle is like, what? Does this man go on huffing snapping turtles? I mean, how do you know that?
So specific.
Who in Arizona is gonna know what that smells like? Just, anyway.
That
Ridiculous.
is some weird mountain man who's been out on his own for way too long.
Way too long and never takes a fucking bath.
Nope.
So anecdotal reports indicate that this creature is allegedly nocturnal, omnivorous, so eating meat and plants, and is territorial and sometimes violent. So you called it, Amy. Violent.
Wow.
Generally reported to walk with wide inhuman strides, so very like lumbering type creature. Leaves behind footprints measuring up to 22 inches, and can also, very creepily, mimic birds, coyotes, and other wildlife, emit unusual whistling sounds, likes to explore campsites after dark, builds nests out of pine needles, twigs, and leaves, and likes to hurl stones from locations that are hidden from view.
So are we sure that this is not just a mountain man who's been left on his own for far too long? He's like, yes.
Point. Yeah.
I'm going to join this campsite in a totally not creepy way. My eyes are red because they're bloodshot. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I'm hopping snapping turtles.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So this thing is like mimicking. So it's essentially like trying to draw things into it.
Absolutely.
Right? So like Bigfoot tries to stay away from everything, but this thing sounds like it's trying to like draw hapless things into it.
Yes, and that's actually my next bullet, is the other really, really, really top-tier creepy thing it does is it emits a blood-curdling scream that typically sounds a lot like a woman in great distress.
No.
I don't like that.
Before that,
No,
there
I
is
know.
an eerie silence prior to your encounters, like that of any predatory animal in the woods that comes along. Everything just goes fucking quiet, and then you hear blood-curdling scream that sounds like a person, and you want to try and go help, but at the same time, it's absolutely fucking not. I'm not doing that shit.
Joe, I just got like chills hearing that.
I don't like this.
Out.
So I'm sorry, Brett.
No.
Amber's never going camping with you, ever.
No,
I
dude.
didn't plan for that to happen.
I've tried telling him for a while I'm more of a cabin person, and I think this one just confirmed it. Like,
Yep. This just sealed the deal. Cabins are the way to go.
Oh my God.
I am not doing that. That's, oh God, no, that is,
Yep.
you know, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah.
No, I don't like this one at all. Mm-mm.
Well, we'll get into it. We got more.
Oh God.
Just
oh
you
no.
wait.
Oh God.
So, a lot of stories about the Mogollon Monster have actually been written off as attacks done by bears because we do have bears in Arizona. However, the last grizzly bear in Arizona was shot in the 1930s. So some of the really early attacks might make sense with that because they can get very violent. But black bears are now the bear species that's here in Arizona. We don't have any grizzlies. We don't have brown bears. It's just black bears. And they're not typically known for aggressive attacks, particularly on humans. There was a fatal black bear attack in June of 2023 in Prescott. However, it was a guy in his 60s that was all by himself. The bear was thought to be sickly. You know, it was the summer. It probably was just really, really scrounging for food. It couldn't find anything because we were in this huge heat wave at that point. Because living in Arizona sucks, even if you're in fucking desert, woods, Prescott, everything. It gets hot. Not as hot as in Phoenix, but really hot. But barring that, there have only been 15 total bear attacks in Arizona since 1990. So that's a good 40-ish years of very little bear attacks. So a lot of the more recent stories of Mogollon Monster sightings don't really jive with it being a bear, but people still write it off as one. The oldest reported sighting was actually in the 1903 edition of the Arizona Republican. So it was published in the local newspaper. in which a man named I.W. Stevens described a creature seen near the Grand Canyon. So again, not necessarily Mogollon Rim, but has been seen all over the state. And had, weirdly, long white hair, not black or reddish brown. So that's a little off. But a matted beard that reached down to its knees, wore no clothing, and had talon-like fingers with claws that were at least 2 inches long. And upon further inspection, he noted a coat of gray hair nearly covered his body, with here and there spots of dirty skin showing. And later stated that after he discovered the creature drinking the blood of 2 cougars, it threatened him with a club and screamed the wildest, most unearthly screech. Yeah. Like, Jesus Christ, that is just...
I'm really trying to process that. Yeah.
So it took down not 1, but 2 cougars. So this
and was
is not
drinking
a mountain
their
man.
blood.
Yeah, this is not a mountain man who could get lucky against a single cougar.
But was smart enough to know how to form and use a club.
Exactly.
Okay, but have we thought, like, maybe why would he happen upon 2 cougars? That's a lot of cougars.
Yeah.
Already dead? Like, already dead
Already
cougars,
dead?
are you thinking?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to drink the blood of 2 dead rancid cougars? Like,
well, if he's like a crazy mountain man, maybe? Like, my brain's trying to do a logic.
He did say that this one had some long beard, so who fucking knows?
That's right? What, like, as soon as he said beard,
Yeah.
I'm like, is this like some wild man in the mountains? Is there like a whole weird lineage of just wild mountain men that passed down the torch of being the Mogollon Rim Monster? Like, what is going on? But yeah.
No, could be.
Because what are we saying when we say club? Are we saying like,
It's
monster
not
found a
super
branch?
descriptive.
Or, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or like,
It's a quote from a news article from 1903. Like,
Yeah.
I think they were just super freaked out
Noted.
that there was some giant thing drinking the blood of cougars to begin with. So,
I mean,
You know what? That's a valid
Fair.
point. I think, yeah. Like, everybody likes to talk about the, you're in the woods, man or bear situation, but, like, I think that entire argument is thrown out the window once you enter in, like, there can be a wild monster man with a club drinking the blood of 2 cougars.
yes.
yep. So, that was the earliest recorded sighting of the Mogollon Monster in 1903. In early 2021, there was an episode of a show called Chasing Legends that aired. I can only find them on YouTube. They've only had like a few episodes of them doing this sort of thing around that time that like COVID was kind of first starting and people were also first starting like doing podcasting and their own YouTube channels and whatnot. So it wasn't very super high budget. And they really didn't find anything, in my opinion. They did meet with a cryptozoologist and members of BFRO, which is Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization that live here in Arizona, to gain more information before they did their investigation out in the woods in the middle of the fucking night, like crazy people. And they heard some noises, but they really didn't find anything in their investigation. Like, they heard noises, they found bones, but, like, it's the forest. You're gonna hear noises and find bones. There's coyotes, there's bears, there's deer, there's elk. There's all sorts of things.
There's mountain lions, there's cougars.
Yeah! Like, there's porcupines, there's skunks, there's all sorts of things out there.
Yep.
So, they didn't really find anything. But, thought I'd mention it, because it's really kind of the most recent sort of media around the Mogollon Monster that I could find. It's not super popular for people to really discuss. In 1944-45-ish as well, another story for you, Camp Geronimo Boy Scout Camp, that was here, is really the most popular story about the Mogollon Monster within the state. It's kind of based a little bit in a racist story and a little bit in true life. Like, there is a sort of racist story that's been told around, like, Boy Scout campfires about a Native American chief who turns himself into this creature to scare off others, like, damn you, white man. Like, first of all, I totally get why they would do that, but also kind of racist that you assume that a Native American would be hostile like that. or that they would just turn themselves into a giant monster. That's completely perpetuating something about them and their culture that I don't think is fair at all. But there was an actual recorded, quote unquote, recorded attack on the Camp Geronimo Boy Scout camp at that time, which tore apart their camp, ate their food, but didn't hurt anyone. And this is where we get the term Mogollon Monster, because they needed something to call it. They went back into town, which was in the Mogollon area. They were trying to talk to other people about it. And funnily enough, this was in 1944-45, the term Bigfoot wasn't actually coined and used until 1958. So Mogollon Monster actually predates Bigfoot.
Oh.
We're the OGs.
Yeah,
hey, wait a second.
Yeah. We're the OGs and no one fucking cares.
So we're not Southwest Bigfoot. Bigfoot is Northwest Mogollon Monster. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
They hijacked our mojo. Yeah.
Yeah, fuck those guys.
Exactly. And I'm not going to make you guys watch it with me now for sake of time, but there is a YouTube video that I'm going to post from Fox 10 News. They did about 9-10 years ago a story with, I believe he was one of the BFRO members who had casts of the footprints and everything. So for those that are interested, when I post it, you can go and watch that and see some old evidence. There's not a huge amount of evidence that's actually, again, really posted online, and we'll get to more of that as well with our next bullet point, which is going to be my next image that I send you guys here. This is also from a news department. Oh, I don't have the actual link to it, so I'll have to show you guys later, but it will be posted later. Essentially, there's a very snowy picture reported by ABC News from the Arizona Department of Transportation that caught this January 1st of 2015, and they posted it on their Facebook with the caption, "We might have spotted a family of Sasquatches on SR 260 or near Heber this afternoon." And you can kind of see in the image, it looks like there's some little sort of, I guess, lumps. Maybe they look kind of more like apes on the ground. But it's really grainy. There's snow on the ground. It's not a very clear picture. But that's kind of a majority of the most recent pictures. There's a couple more here, and these ones are not quite as, we'll say they're not quite as credible, and we will discuss it. The first one here, people discuss as looking like the Mogollon Monster somewhere in the desert carrying a deer. And at one point, I did watch a YouTube video on this, and I'll need to find it again to post it as well. But this guy dissects this picture and tries to essentially call it bull if he can, but he can't really find much to really discredit it, except for the fact that it was really posted very publicly across Facebook. Tons of people were reposting it and sharing it. And then as suddenly as it appeared, it disappeared. And it's very, very hard to find this picture anywhere on the internet anymore, except for in this guy's video and in this one cryptozoology Reddit thread that I found. It got super popular and lots of people remember it, but it's really hard to find now. Not sure why, it just sort of disappeared after it got popular. And then there is one more image. Again, there's not a huge amount of evidence of the Mogollon Monster, but this one is from, you have to actually click the link and open it. That first image that appears in our Discord thread is not the right one. It's from the Cryptids Fandom Wiki, and it really just looks like this sort of, again, big husk. Could be like a pile of pine needles that someone put together in the middle of the forest, which I've seen people do out here for some reason. Maybe not that tall, but it's not a very clear image. So there's not a huge amount of actual images and recording evidence of the Mogollon Monster, but there's lots of stories that have come across throughout time. So that's just the sort of background on the Mogollon Monster. How are we feeling so far?
I am very intrigued. I love, I was looking at the Reddit thread you sent, that image, and I saw, just happened upon one comment that said something like, deserts are really great at preserving bones and remains, so if there is a desert Bigfoot, where the body's at, and all I can think is, like, where did this guy learn, or gal, I guess, like, learn about anything? Like, deserts do nothing but destroy everything.
Yeah,
like that's...
There's
not
nothing
exactly
left.
No.
Yeah.
The sun will destroy all of it, and then...
I mean,
we have
our
plenty of
saguaro
animals that-
cacti last year were exploding from the heat, so literally
Explode.
nothing's safe.
Nothing
Airplane
is-
tires were melting on the tarmac. Like, it gets
No,
insanely
no.
hot here.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
No, and it's just, so, I had to comment on that. Sorry, random Reddit person, you'll never listen to this, so I don't know why I'm worried about it. But, like, no, those pictures are really weird, because that first picture almost looks like it could be, like, a dude in camo carrying stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's so blurry.
Like in a ghillie
Yeah.
suit.
Yeah.
It's super weird.
So, it's
I have
so
to
weird.
say, I had no idea that there was like when you talk about Bigfoot as a category, maybe
A category
that
of cryptid, yeah.
it even existed anywhere. And this completely reinforces my absolutely anti-camping stance that I've always had. This reinforces it 1,000%.
1,000%. Yeah. No, and plus, like, I will say, like, softly, I could believe in a Bigfoot, you know? Like,
It could be somewhere.
I think, yeah, there's enough variations of it. Like, it took us a very long time to discover gorillas. Like, not that crazy to me that there's maybe a reclusive something or other out there. Maybe only exists in a small population because it's so big. I do think it's cool. I think it's cool that, like,
I do too.
we're not that far away from the Northwest, so I think it almost reinforces the possibility that there is
Because
a
there could be
Bigfoot
differing
creature.
populations or migrations of the creatures.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So
Yeah,
on
spin
that
off.
note, on the BFRO website, they have tons of recorded postings from people of their Bigfoot sightings across the country. And for Arizona, they have 85 sightings listed last I looked. And the oldest was listed in 1975, and the latest was from 2021. So I'm going to go over probably the oldest and the newest. There are other stories in there that I definitely think people should read because some of them are just fucking insane. And good God,
Nice.
what the hell? But we'll stick with the oldest on that website and the latest. Again, that's not the oldest ever recorded sighting, it's just the oldest recorded on the BFRO website. And so that, again, was in 1975. This was in October of 1975, all the way down in Pima County. So, again, spreads across the state. It's not just in the Mogollon area. It's just where that first popular story from the Boy Scout camp came from, and they named it based off of that. So this sighting happened north of what's called the Fenster School. It's kind of like a preparatory, kind of old school, boarding school-ish for some kids. That was near the old corrals south of Sabino Canyon, about a mile west of Sabino Creek, and this is around the Tucson area. So again, much further south than we would really think to see this thing, but apparently someone saw it there. And I'm going to read you their observation. Just quick note, as I was reading through this the first time, I got very, very upset because this person apparently went to this Fenster school and their grammar is atrocious. So, I'm going to do my best.
I was getting so nervous. I'm like, oh God, what is in this story? What is Joe's upset about?
Oh no, it's just me being really picky and finicky about how people word things because I can't do slang very easily. It just doesn't come to me. I don't like it. So this guy and this is where it's like weird because it says October 1975, but he starts it off in mid-November of 1975. Like, pick a fucking month, dude. What the hell? In 1975, I was attending the Fenster School in the north part of Tucson off Sabino Canyon. I would routinely skip class on occasion or have a class canceled, so I would hike the surrounding area in the time frame I had, usually from an hour to 2 hours. I would look for Indian artifacts and watch local wildlife, occasionally seeing a coyote, mule deer, or javelina. Again, you're skipping class to go looking for fucking artifacts. If you want to be an archaeologist, you gotta fucking go to class, dude. I don't know what to tell you. I can't forget, like it was burned in my mind, as I was poking around the old corral that was north of the campus, at least a good half-mile or more. First thing that bothered me was my hair stood on end. Then a pungent smell hit me. Then I heard it. I saw through the creosote bush a large, grayish-brown, hairy creature crouched over a gopher den, digging at it. I was about 50 yards away and stood in total fear and shock, what seemed like an eternity, watching it dig with what looked like its hands, and it then started to turn towards me. That's when I bolted and ran as fast as I could back to the campus. Across open ground, had to put in quotes here, former polo field, crossed by an abandoned airfield for light aircraft. Like he sprinted this huge distance because he's such an athlete. I kept looking over my shoulder as I panic ran to see if I was being pursued. Never fucking look over your shoulder. That's how you trip and fall and get killed.
Everybody
every time.
That way.
Don't fucking do that. I wasn't. When I got to the office, I immediately reported what I saw to the school secretary. What the fuck is she gonna do? Even drew a quick sketch of what I saw. She said she'd report it to the authorities. I told a few others what I witnessed. Most thought I was nuts that Bigfoot lives in Canada. I mean, maybe there are sightings of Bigfoot in Canada. I haven't heard that before, but I'm not the end-all be-all expert, so who knows? Still, the fuck? I refused to return to that area for months, not venturing far from campus, and especially with someone along, I would later gain enough courage to go into Sabino Canyon, especially with others. Saw nor heard nothing. That's how he phrases it. Again, this fucking pisses me off. Later in the spring of 76, I was again looking solo for artifacts east of the campus when I found a wash, large footprint-shaped depressions spaced a good 5 feet apart crossing the wash. Later, walking along, I looked around immediately as fear rapidly creeped in again, but heard, smelled, nor saw nothing. I took branches and covered up the 5 tracks and returned to campus. This time I told a teacher of mine. He includes the teacher's name. I'm not going to because, privacy reasons. Told this teacher what I found. The next day, took him to the site a good 45 minutes to an hour's hike, showed him the tracks. He too felt something big and upright walked that area. We discussed it with a few others. All felt that it was a prank. Why would anyone go to the effort to make those tracks so far out and so unlikely to be found? Doesn't really make sense for it to be a prank. So I kind of get that. And then says, it's been 25 years and I still get goosebumps thinking about it. Who wouldn't, Maybe not footprint part, but the seeing it part, sure.
Yeah, for sure.
No, thank you.
Yeah. He also added a note, the smell, very pungent and strong. I smelled this minutes before seeing the creature. Why would you stay? It smells
Nothing
that
good.
bad? No. The creature was hunched over, but even then it looked big. After my sighting, I don't know, maybe some students went to go look. I know several wouldn't venture that area for weeks. Yeah, no shit, you scared them.
Mm-hmm.
Dude. Especially if you're calling yourself out as like this big athlete that can jog this great distance without tripping and falling while looking behind you.
Yeah.
And for those who are unaware, they do have listings of the environments in these as well, so I will just give the brief description of the environment. It's the high Sonoran Desert, lots of creosotes, cactus, and again, in the corral for the sighting, the location was lined with mesquite and cottonwood. The wash was very dry at the time, as it usually is, so very dry, very desert, like, the only thing this creature could do is probably look in a gopher hole to see if something was in there. So, kind of
Not
makes
a lot
sense,
of
but
food.
also this
Yeah.
giant fucking creature.
How's it
Living
think
in the
sustainable
desert.
gophers?
Yeah. Don't know. I do not know. Anyway,
See.
so that is their oldest reported sighting for Arizona on the BFRO website. We are now going to the most recent sighting on their website for the state of Arizona, which was in 2021. Season is just described as summer, but we do get a date of 6/10. So 6/10/2021. I don't know why they didn't put all of these things together.
Yeah.
I didn't build the website, and I didn't make the entry. But this was in Apache County, so still kind of in like the southern region of the state, not quite
okay.
northern as we would expect it to be. And the original witness notes that it's near Dead End Road beside I-40 West, so they have a very specific area. And the Dead End fronted road is McCarroll Road and is a few miles west of Chambers, Arizona. They also give specific coordinates. I'm not going to try and say those because I don't fucking do that shit. I just don't.
No geocaching for you, Joe?
Nope.
Nope. And the nearest town was Holbrook. So
Okay.
the observation was that heading west on the I-40 on that date at 9:30, my wife and I saw a Bigfoot 100 to 150 yards from the highway heading north. It was not running, but walking. It never looked at the highway. It must have been 7 to 8 feet tall. It was thick, as if well built. There was a rock outcropping behind it, which made it very visible. And there had to be other travelers who also saw this. We got a long look at it. 15 to 20 seconds is what they're calling a long look. He also states, by the way.
Okay.
And it was west of Hook, Arizona. Again, gives the coordinates. You've already given them previously. I don't understand why you're doing this. We were traveling in a 30-foot motorhome, so we couldn't stop. There were other cars behind us, a red motor coach towing a car, a woman driving. I don't know why we have to specify that, but okay. Yeah. I'd like to add that it was like seeing any other type of natural wildlife on the side of the highway. They are real, and I'm a believer now. It's hard to explain it to even family. I'm 62 years old and have nothing to gain by reporting this except the fact that they should be documented and protected at all costs. They are truly one of God's creations. So,
Oh, you lost me there.
Yeah. We got a little preachy at the end there. It's like, I don't know.
little bit.
If this guy is like clubbing cougars and making shrill screeches, maybe we don't need to protect it. But
I mean,
Yeah. But, you know, they have a ranking for their sightings on their website, which I probably should have mentioned earlier, but I'll mention now. They are ranked as A, B, and C. So A is, of course, going to be the most reliable sightings, and both of those stories are ranked as A's. They are reliable. B's are a little less reliable. Maybe it was like a little cloudy, or maybe the story doesn't really seem to fit very well. And C are not hugely credible, but they're still going to take the sighting anyway as an official report.
yeah.
So both of those, the 1975 one and the 2021 one, are both listed as A sightings. They are thought to be very credible people and sightings. Again, probably both old white men telling these stories. So not going to read too much into that, but y'all think what you want. And that is what I've got for the Mogollon Monster.
That's wild.
it is
Truly
absolutely
wild.
crazy. That's crazy.
I just
This thing is
like
insane.
I'm trying to pick like my favorite feature of the Mogollon
I know.
Monster. Like, is it the
Favorite.
crazy red eyes? Is it the drinking the blood of two cougars? Is
Is it that he's got a nice hairless chest?
everything hairy except the chest?
Yeah.
You're right. I think it's that one. That and the musk of snapping turtles, which is like
Yeah. Such a great
How could
detail, you know?
anything resist that?
how could anything
Oh
resist
my
it?
God.
It's just like it's just wild to me that it's like this stinky gorilla man in the just in Arizona
Somehow
hanging
has
out.
remained hidden from science for this long.
and
Shrieks
all
like a
over-
woman, truly one of
Yep.
God's creatures. 10 out of 10
All
should
over.
defend.
all over the state too, right? Like
All
when you
over it.
said Mogollon
Yep.
Monster, I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, there's a specific, like, it's got a habitat. Like, this is why I've never heard of this. I don't go camping. Of course I've never heard of it. But I could be driving to freaking Tucson and hit one of these on the highway,
thank
is
you.
what you're telling me?
Yeah.
No. That sounds awful.
Yeah, reading through their website, a majority of the sightings in Arizona have been in like the Coconino County area.
Yeah.
And there have been some just all over the state. There's even some that have been like right outside the bounds of Phoenix itself. Like there was one other story on there.
No.
I'm not going to read the entire thing because it's very long, and it's very much this guy who's like it's very much giving the vibes of like some college dude who's kind of a frat boy but also kind of wants to be in the army or go into being a cop. And he talks about like taking knives and going on night hikes with his friends, and he sees these two creatures out. Based on what he gives, he doesn't give too much detail about the area, probably for like privacy reasons, but it sounds like around Estrella Mountain, which is like just south of like the Tolleson Buckeye area. So all over the state, literally anywhere, supposedly you could run into these things.
I don't like that.
Me
I'm going to go on record as I don't like that. Started off like, ooh, interested, tell me more, like it so much.
Yeah.
Now, very quickly have reached do not like territory.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
I could be driving to Home Goods on a Sunday and run into this dude. Or
You never know.
Leave
On my way
AJ's with
to-
a coffee and then
I
you
know.
just see him in the parking lot.
on my way to Vegas, and he's got a like Vegas or bust sign on it.
Could be. Again, the BFRO website has sightings listed in multiple states across the country. It's not just Arizona for Bigfoot. And it's
So
not
that's
just the
messed
Pacific
up.
Northwest. There's
The
recordings
walking
in, like,
tour for this
Oklahoma
guy. Yeah.
and Pennsylvania. So it's insane.
Wait. Are we sure this wasn't like what's his name? Forrest Gump just jogging across the country
Just
with his big old
just
beard?
pinballing across.
Real life Forrest Gump is a lot hairier than we thought, guys.
He can only shave the chest. It's the only part he can
Only.
reach.
It's for aerodynamics while he's running.
Aerodynamics.
So with that, I will leave you with a final question of, do you brave the Mogollon Rim Wilderness? If you do, it is a very popular recreational area, so there's a lot of camping, hiking. Forest Road 300 is considered a very nice scenic drive. There's multiple lakes. You can visit the Tonto Natural Bridge, Fossil Creek, Camp Verde, Sedona, and more. And you can find more details about visiting the area on the Visit Arizona website for more information. And with that, once again, I'm Joe.
I'm Amber.
And I'm Amy.
And this has been Murderous, Mysterious, and Macabre. If you like this episode, please consider reviewing and sharing our show. If you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you like what we do and want to help us cover more murderous, mysterious, and macabre places, you can join our Patreon, linked in the comments below. And with that, good night.
Good night.
Good night.